Hey there, www.andrewmartinmusic.com. Good Friday, 2024. And I was thinking about the patriarchs of the Torah, and I wanted to talk about that for a little bit. I'd like to sort of grant that they existed and kind of try to steelman them. So, the first points I'll make is that I'm dealing in this blog with Noah, Abraham, Moses, David, and Solomon. That's it. I'm willing to grant that Noah and Abraham, according to the official dating, are just too far in the past to have any evidence of, archaeology or, other cultures writing about them. So, yeah, okay, they may have existed as written. We don't know. There's no evidence for it, but they could have existed. Now, I don't think we can grant this once we get to Moses, David, and Solomon. It's only 3,300 years ago, thereabouts. And there should be plenty of evidence for it, like unquestionable, overwhelming evidence, especially when you deal with the numbers involved, like up to over 500,000 people wandering in the desert for 40 years. And then it describes like this amazing grand Davidic Solomon kingdom. There should be evidence for these stories, and there's not. If there was a grand Davidic Solomon kingdom, all the other nations would have written about it. But history comes up blank. So I don't think we can grant that in those stories. So what's going on here? I mean, this is going to sound a bit bizarre, but the Israelis, the Hebrews, the Jews, they've been in Israel now for at least 100 years. I'd say 200, from the earliest beginnings of Zionism. And they've been searching for evidence of these stories. Now, again, this is going to sound bizarre, but why would they lie and cover up all the factual history that is ubiquitous when it comes to Moses and David and Solomon? Like, maybe we could say, oh, it's those evil atheist Jews who are lying and covering up all the evidence that is just obviously there. But the problem with that is that a lot of the people who have been researching, doing archaeology and studying linguistics there and everything else about the history of the Torah are Orthodox, and they have no reason to lie. So I think that particular avenue of exploration fails, doesn't work. And then the second point I think we have to look at is Satan. Satan covered it all up. He's to blame. The problem with this, from the Torah's point of view, is that there's no coherent explanation for why Yahweh would get his servant to cover up the facts of what, are his favorite people, and all the conquests that they supposedly, achieved. There's no coherent reason I can think of that Yahweh would get Satan to do this. So that fails. I won't get into the Christian and Islamic versions of Satan because they're based on taking the story of Moses and David and Solomon as literally factual history. And I've just shown that it's not. It's some kind of creation of religious minds built on myths, legends, just verbal storytelling, ethnic hubris in there. So, yeah, the theories surrounding Christianity and Islam, fail because of that. You're basing your castle on sand, and it's collapsed in my opinion. So what else do we have here? Moses. Now, Freud wrote a book called Moses is Akhenaten, or Akhenaten is Moses. I forget the name of it. And, I think he's pretty well bang on with that, especially when you look at the works of people like Ahmed Osman, Mustafa Gadala, even, real out there folks like Charles N. Pope on the Domain of Man site, who are saying that if you're looking for where the stories of Moses, David, and Solomon came from, you need to look at the Egyptian pharaohs. So Moses was Akhenaten. I personally believe that that is the best fit for that after years and years of study. As a layman, sure, but I'm entitled to my opinion. Now, I think Tutmosis III, the great warrior king of Egypt, is a perfect fit for the story of David, and I believe it's Amenhotep III who is a perfect fit for the story of Solomon. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing the names wrong. So yes, a little bit of borrowing went on. Now, how to make sense of that? Well, you have to go back to Abraham, whose story is absurd. Like, you just don't walk into Egypt and offer up your wife to the Pharaoh. I don't care how beautiful she is, But where Abraham's story does make sense is if he was royalty, right? Now, I'm not going to suggest who Abraham was as royalty. Some say he was almost the first. But at least then the story makes sense if you're dealing with Hebrew royalty known as the Hyksos. And there's a whole history there where they conquered Egypt, and I would go as far as to say as they did more than that. They actually merged royal houses with some of the lines of the Egyptians. So you have Hebrew Egyptian lines, and a lot of those lines ended up becoming stealth rulers throughout history. One of the main lines, Queen Scotia, daughter of Akhenaten, founded Scotland, or I think the name Scotland comes from Queen Scotia, and hence you have, the Freemasonic symbolism. And if you know about Freemasonry, it's Kabbalah. If you know about Kabbalah, Kabbalah comes from Egyptian spirituality. So the dots all connect. So yeah, interesting. Now, is anybody going to concede this? No. They're going to take this one to their graves and probably, annihilate the whole planet to continue their delusions. One point I did want to make is there are different researchers, especially in the field of comparing Egyptian pharaohs to the patriarchs, who come up with different pharaohs for the different people, for the different patriarchs. I think Charles M. Pope addresses this best, where he goes, within the span of thousands of years of Egyptian dynasties, there were tropes that were, instantiated within these royal houses, and they got repeated, and researchers can find these tropes in different eras that look like Solomon or they look like David. So that to me is a fairly decent explanation for what's going on there. But where we're at today now is these lines have just taken too much power. They have too much power on Earth now, and civilization is just being trolled. It's unimaginable. If there's 33 drops of rain, that the Hebrew media hypes it and instantiates this 33 drops of rain with just incredibly Yahwehistic portents. The April 8th, eclipse is just, the media is in a frenzy over it. Well, who owns the media, right? This is all ridiculousness, right? Especially when it's all built on delusion. And they're not done with it, because although I could grant maybe Noah existed, if you look at the evidence where the story came from, it seems to have come from the Sumerians in the Epic of Gilgamesh. And now they want to take a fictional story to the degree that it is fiction, or myth, and they want the whole world to live under the 7 laws of somebody who never existed. This is not good. It is not good to build a civilization on delusion. Now, I'm a Christian Gnostic. I have my own views of all of this, and they are not Kabbalistic. Okay, let me just say that right now. I'm not a Kabbalist. I reject all of Kabbalist metaphysics. I personally think that the serpent and the lion god, Yahweh, Yeshua, whatever you want to call him in the Garden of Eden, is both Yaldabaoth, because the symbol was serpent, lion. So the whole story, everybody involved in that, other than Adam and Eve, were just archons manipulating humanity, and that's still going on today, especially through Kabbalah. And they, you get people like Christopher Bajorkness, who supposedly is against Kabbalah, but if you really look at the way he frames it all he's doing is promoting it. And then at the same time, he just dismisses without any reason, without any qualifications, why a Christian Gnostic like me is wrong, right? And why our metaphysics are incorrect. And yet this ridiculousness about Kabbalah is profound. And it's a sponge that's soaking up everything, like from Randall Carlson to Joe Rogan. It's just like the Zohar. Every type of ridiculousness and outlandishness is promoted as spiritual fact. Even like Steiner, with the advent of Ahriman, which is, just borrowing from the Zoroastrians. And he's the bad guy, right? So what he's doing there is he's misdirecting, because it's Yaldabaoth, right? It's the demiurge, right? According to Christian Gnostics. So Steiner is misdirecting. But, okay, well, that's all I've got.
Soon as you're born, they make you feel small, giving you no time instead of it all. till the pain is so big you feel nothing at all. Working class